Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Allie. I'm ready to talk about all the books I read in January. I had such a good reading month. I'm so happy. First, let's go over some stats. I read 15 books and 4,925 pages, which apparently averages out to about 154 pages a day, which is great because I think there were 8 days that I didn't read at all. I'm very happy with that. Of the genres I read 5 fantasy. This does include fantasy romance, 4 general fictions, 1 horror, 1 literary fiction. Take that with a grain of salt because some of the other genres I read were also literary fiction, 1 mystery book, 1 nonfiction, and 2 sci-fis. My average rating was a 3.9, which is very high for me, and I had 1 DNF, which I will tell you all about. I didn't rate a book because it was a reread, but I got 4 5 stars, which is amazing. Last year, it took me 9 months to get 3 5 stars. So I'm on a roll already. I'm so happy. I got 3 4 stars, which also is amazing, 4 3.5 stars, 2 3 stars, and 1 2.5 stars. I think that's probably all the information you care to know about, if you care at all. I will say that I read 6 NetGalley books, which is great for me because I'm really trying to get my score up. All right, let's get into the books. I do have a weekly wrap up, and I believe it's like the first books I read in the year, so some of this will be repetitive, so you might want to skip around. I am going to go in order chronologically from what I read beginning to end of the month. So let's get into it. First, I read The Nursery by Sylvia Molnar. This is a literary fiction book all about this woman and her experience getting pregnant, giving birth, having a newborn baby. It goes into great detail. It's a very short book though. She is struggling because she doesn't have her mother anymore. Her husband's always gone. She's not from America and she's just kind of stuck in this apartment in this city. And she feels so lonely, and also she's a brand new mother, so she's like exhausted, sleep deprived. She feels like a human cow. And she finds solace in her neighbor, who's this old man, and he's so crotchety and she's so crotchety, and they just kind of hang out together. And there's really no plot to this. It's just a story of her experience. It's very beautifully written. It's kind of sad, but it's also sort of uplifting. It was just a solid read. Very quick. Made me scared to ever give birth. I kind of was already scared to begin with, so. I originally gave this a 3.75, but I do think I'm gonna bump it up to a 4 just because it was written so well, and I can't wait to see what else this author writes. Then I read Origins of an Academy Bully, which is the prequel to the Zodiac Academy series. I'm reading this with some friends, and we read the prequel and the first book this month, and I think we're going to read 1 a month going forward. I think February, though, is supposed to be the first book from other characters' point of view, and I think I'm gonna skip it for now because I think there are gonna be spoilers in it. Let me know if you have a strong opinion of the Zodiac series, the way you're supposed to read it. But anyway, this is the prequel. I give 4 stars. I was so pleasantly surprised. I really enjoyed this as a fantasy novella. I really didn't know much going into the series, but this one does seem not like the first book. More fantasy than fantasy romance. It's building up this world and all the powers and the astrological shit. Everyone changes into a sort of magical creature, but they also yield elemental magic. We had a couple point of views, and both of them belong to families that they don't agree with, and so they're sort of like fighting the man in this story, but also investigating what's going on. There's some family drama, kind of a devastating scene that I was like already invested in. This is only 94 pages long. I like seeing the friendship, or I don't really know how to explain it because I don't know what their relationship is the rest of the series. But based on reading this prequel, I'm like, oh my god, friends forever, BFFs. It got me really excited to read the first book. I will say that I kind of made the experience of reading the first book a little weird since the prequel was following specific characters that we're kind of suspicious of in the first book. And so knowing that they're good people already and knowing that there's a greater villain, it kind of made me a little annoyed and frustrated with the suspicions and red herrings that happened in the first book. But you know what? I don't care because this one got me so excited. It is a long book. This one leans more towards romantasy, but there's not a straight up romance in here. But there's a lot of setup for future romance, and there was like a steamy scene, maybe a couple, but it wasn't like, oh, I could tell they're gonna be together. Actually, that's not true. I could tell that with one specific couple, but it's also like, these people could hook up with everyone. They could all just like, you know, which I personally absolutely love. This follows our main characters whose names I completely forget. They are a set of twins, and they're actually in the human world, and that's something I really enjoyed because having just been from the prequel in this very fantasy world, then it's like, oh, okay. We're getting a real introduction to this, and these girls are just thrown in. They are, I think, recently 18, and they're struggling. They've been in and out of foster homes, and one night this dude just like follows them everywhere. Turns out he is a professor at the Zodiac Academy, and it turns out that they are lost heirs to the Zodiac throne, something like that. And so he pretty much just takes them and brings them over there. He like worms them by saying that they have an inheritance, and they're like, okay, we need that money. So they show up and they immediately get access to the powers that they've been sort of sitting on and repressing, I'm guessing. It was really fun finding out their powers. It did happen pretty quickly. And very quickly they're just like, okay, this is our life. We're gonna go to the school. It's like a college. But everyone in this community, literally everyone, hates their fucking guts because they have gotten used to not having a monarchy. They have several different ruling groups that sort of work as a democracy, but it's also not a democracy because they're born into it. So I don't really understand why people are upset. And you know what? There really is no resolution. Everyone hates them from beginning to end of this book, but the girls are very strong. They stick together even when, because this is a sort of bully, not even a romance, just a bully book. Everyone's just bullying them. A certain specific group of boys, really they're men. They're grown-ass men, which is just kind of despicable. They are the people that are supposed to rule with these heirs being gone. And so they're extra pissed off because they feel like these girls are just like taking away their future, just their future. And they're kind of actual assholes, which is weird because there's also like flirty, steamy scenes with them. And so if you're not a fan of a bully romance, I don't know, I would try it out. I love a bully romance. I'm gonna say that right here, right now. I really don't mind it, and especially because these girls are not just taking it and crying, even though like I would totally be crying my ass off. I would never speak to these people again though, so it wouldn't be much of a book if I were the main character. I'd be like, fuck this, I'm going back to the human world with my powers, and you all can like kiss my ass. I ended up giving this a 3-star, mostly because it did feel a little long and it got very repetitive. It was like, okay, the girls are getting bullied. There is a mystery running around in the background about like why their family died, and just this sort of menacing creature in the background. And I have a very strong idea of who it is going to be, or at least someone who's involved in it. And it feels a little obvious, but also it's kind of annoying because having read the prequel, I know that there's going to be a bigger story and a bigger bad guy. And I'm kind of just like, okay, can we get through this? Because there really isn't a resolution at the end of, how many pages is this? 436 pages. And so it's like, okay, girls, I know you're really upset that these boys are torturing you, which yes, I would be too, but can you all stop and just solve this mystery? Like if they just took their forces and put them together and their knowledge and their brains and their power, they could literally save the world, and yet they're instead trying to drown these girls. Like, come on. What are you doing? The final bully scene in the book though, I'm like, how are you gonna make out with these boys in the next book after having what they just done? No. I mean, we know it's gonna happen, but I gotta find out how that resolves itself. I did read your stereotypical New Year's book. This is Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's one of my all-time favorites. I reread it every year, along with Gretchen Rubin's Better Than Before. Those two go hand in hand, but this one's shorter, so I ended up listening to the audiobook. This is really about how to better instill daily habits specifically. You also get a little bit of this person's background and history, and he just seems like a nice guy. He also is very good about summarizing the end of every chapter. And that's nice, especially when you're listening it to an audiobook. Because I feel like nonfiction, especially self-improvement, I'm really the kind of person that needs a text and to be like underlining it and go back and be like, okay, wait, I need to actually think about what he told me to just think about. But oftentimes I don't write things down or go to look at the actual book. And so at the end of the chapter, he's like, now here's a reminder of what we just learned. And I'm just like, oh, thank you. Thank you, James. Thank you. I think this is one of the most helpful books I've read. And I know a lot of people think self-help is a joke, but you know what? I'm a big supporter. I think it's really fun. And I like that this is the kind of topic that you can really use the information to fit into your life. Like it's applicable to everyone. It's just about how you can take 100 different suggestions and use whichever one works for you to do whatever the fuck you want. Nice. Then I read Sugar Baby. This is my only like low score of the month, which I feel really weird about. I gave it 2.5, and I've been seeing constant 5 stars of this book. So by no means listen to anything I'm about to say and just try it out if it sounds like something you're gonna like, because I think I am completely just like on my own in this opinion, but I didn't enjoy this book. This is about a young woman who lives in England. She is a cleaner, and one of her clients' daughters is just this rich, vain-seeming pretty girl, and she starts talking about how she's going to write a book about how to manipulate men, and she wants to use our main character Agnes. Oh my god, glad I remembered her name. That's great. She wants to use Agnes as a guinea pig to see if her self-improvement tips are going to work on her. So they sort of create this friendship. It's a very Alison De Laurentiis choosing her friends kind of friendship, which I just love. And another book in here that I read this month had a similar vibe, which is great. And we see Agnes sort of become a sugar baby, which is why it's called Sugar Baby. We see her in real time going on some lunch dates and getting presents from men and getting herself deeper and deeper into this world of transactional relationships, which, yes, it was kind of fun. The drama of like, oh, how's this gonna go? It was also a very kind of glamorous book, which I also enjoyed. I'm wondering if maybe I should give this a 3, because now that I'm bringing up some facts, I'm like, wait, there are parts of this that I was really intrigued by. They talked a lot about clothes and different purses and stores. It was very pop culture-y. They talked a lot about Kim Kardashian. They didn't like discuss Kim Kardashian, but they referenced the Kardashians. They referenced, I can't remember. Kim Kardashian really stood out for me. The thing is, I feel like this was very much a moral story. Is that what it's called? It was like an episode of Full House where this situation happens and then Danny Tanner walks in the room. He's like, let's talk. And then the music kind of flows in. Agnes has a really religious, strict mother. And at first I thought it was going to be a story about her rebelling from her mom. I mean, that's a part of it. And then I was wondering like, oh, is this really going to zero in on Agnes's relationship with this girl and their transactional friendship? And it did, but it also, you know, it just felt like one of those stories that was trying to teach Agnes a lesson, but also it felt like it was trying to teach me a lesson. And I was like, please don't. I don't know, it just felt really judgy. And I think maybe I'm judgy because I thought it was judgy. I know, it just left a sour taste in my mouth. So if you've read it, if you loved it, let everyone know in the comments and they could have a better review than the one that I just gave. Okay, moving on. Oh my God, then I read 13 Ways to Kill Lulabelle Rock. I had the neck belly of this. It just came out this month and I fucking love this. I gave it like a 4.75 initially, but I'm just bumping that bitch up. And I bought the copy because I want to reread it. This is set in the future where people who are very rich can clone themselves to kind of do busy work for them or really do whatever they want. There is a whole system in place. There's management, there's like tech people. It's a whole thing. Our main character, Lulabelle, she is a clone of a celebrity, Lulabelle Rock. The original Lulabelle has made 13 other Lulabelle clones. Our main character is made to kill off the other clones for whatever reason. And so it almost feels very episodic because each chapter is our main clone going to the different Lulabelles and having an interaction. Some of them are action-packed, like car race, which I usually don't love, but I loved everything about this book. It was very fun. It was high-paced, but it was also very thought-provoking and touching and sort of existential. I don't know if I'm using that word right. It just touched on everything and I just loved our main character. I loved her little interactions. I want this to be a TV show so badly. And it was just kind of a comfort read and it almost felt like cozy sci-fi murder. I don't know how to better explain that, but I love this book. Then I read Emily Wilde's Map of the Otherlands. This is a sequel to Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. And I also gave this one 5 stars. I don't think this one's gonna be like on my list at the end of the year, like Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies is, but I just enjoy this world. I enjoy these characters so much. I love Emily. I like how grumpy she is. I like how academic she is. Very one-track mind, type A kind of character. I love reading those because it's just like the complete opposite of who I am. And I love Wendell. This series is about, like I just said, it's historical. It's set back in the past. I forget exactly when. Let me look it up. It's set in the 1900s. Our main character is a professor at Oxford University. She's very academic. Her department is fairy lore. There's like an actual word for it, but it's really long and I forget what it is. And she goes to different places and discovers different fairies. She talks about the maps where the fairy doors are. And there's another character in here named Wendell who is her co-worker. I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the two of them interacting together is just the cat's pajamas. Wendell as a character is just, he tickles me. That sounded weird. Just so fun. He's so dramatic and lazy, but the perfect foil for Emily. We had a couple new characters in this one as well, and at first I was like, ugh, can these people go away? But I love them at the end of the book. I love how everyone interacted, the whole group. We got a glimpse of them in their home setting in Oxford. We went to a new fairy location. That part was so good. The magical stuff in here, the descriptions. Heather Fawcett, I'm pretty sure she's like such a genius. I didn't love this one as much as the first book. There's just something about that one that really just hits me. Ow. And I do think there were a couple plot points in here that were a little weak. I don't give a shit. It's the atmosphere, it's the characters, it's the descriptions, it's the writing. Love it. I'm so excited for the third book because Heather Fawcett says that's her favorite so far. I just went to go push my glasses up. I'm not even wearing them. Heather Fawcett says her third one's her favorite so far, and I fucking can't wait to read it. I think I got the arc for this in March, and if I get it early again, I might not be able to wait till 2025 to read it. I gotta be honest. Then, Midnight is the Darkest Hour. Oh my god, this is so fun. This is by Ashley Winstead. It's the first of her books that I have read. I own her other books though. I think I own one of her romance and The Last Housewife. I need to get In My Dreams to Hold a Knife. I've heard a lot of good things about that one. This one though, it's Twilight fanfiction. It really is. Also, sorry, I have the library copy. It's very shiny. I'm giving this, it's going between a 3 and a 3.5 just because I had so much fun reading this. The actual story is about a young woman. I think she's living in Louisiana. She's in her early 20s. She lives in a very sort of like Bible Belt town, and I believe her dad is the pastor, minister, whatever it's called. So she's grown up with a lot of boundaries and rules and fucked up shit. She has a secret love for Twilight, and same. But the way that I feel like Ashley Winstead has a secret love of Twilight, because so much in this book is a complete parallel to the series of Twilight. Different books, different scenes. It's fan fiction, I'm sorry. And the way that it was sort of referenced again and again, like they literally talked about Twilight all throughout this book. And I just love that part of it. I really liked paying close attention to what was happening because I was like, okay, wait, is this them going to the Volturi? Wait, is this the final battle where Alice sees a vision? Like, I was just coming up with all these theories, things that probably weren't even in here. And so like, brava, Ashley Winstead. I don't know if that was your intention, but it made me read more closely. It made me laugh out loud. The thing is though, the actual mystery, because this is a mystery novel about a killer in the town, I didn't even mention that because I don't give a shit. That mystery was kind of lackluster, and the way they went about trying to solve the mystery was so like, what are we doing? And at one point I was like, she's just trying to come up with scenes that are parallel to Twilight. I don't know if that's true. That's just what it felt like. It felt like, what is the point of this? Can we go on? Can we get something juicier here? I did like the small town drama aspect. Like if this was just a drama, I think I might have ate it up more. So a 3.5. Didn't actually love the story, but I had so much fucking fun. And I'm so glad I read it. Then I read The Longest Autumn by Amy Avery. This was also a NetGalley I had that came out in January. I was really intrigued by the story because it is about a fantasy world in which there are mythological gods, but they're not like Greek mythology or Chinese mythology. As far as I know, it's just like a made-up mythology that the author created based on the seasons. So there is like a autumn god, spring, summer, you know what the seasons are. There's also like a sun. I don't know if there's a moon. I kind of forget. Anyway, our main character is one of the humans that help out the gods, and she's specifically the human for the autumn god. She helps him pass through the realms, like the human realm and the god realm. Because of her job, she gets to stay in the god realm for 9 months of the year, and then every night she like helps transfer souls over. But for 3 months, when it's autumn season, she goes and stays in the human realm with the god. She takes her job very, very seriously, which I thought was a very cool thing. I like it when characters in books like Emily Wilde, they take their job seriously. Love it. This takes place at the very beginning of autumn when they're going from the god realm to the human realm, and once they get over to the human realm, the mirror that they travel through shatters. And it's a horrible, horrible thing that's happened, because if they can't get back over, then winter can never come, spring and summer can never come, and the human realm is going to run out of food because they're not going to have like the sun and the earth in its tip-top shape to grow vegetables or bread or things like that. And so it's very bad because our main character, who I'm forgetting her name, of course, because it's her job to like touch the mirror and send the person through, everyone's like pointing at her and they're like, what the fuck did you do, bitch? So she's under investigation, and she's also desperate to fix this because she loves her job so much. So she starts investigating along with a couple other characters. There are like 3 or I don't even remember how many romances there were in here. It was one of those books where everyone was just kind of hooking up with everyone, and I loved it. I like those kind of books because it makes interactions more fun, because I'm such a whore, I guess. I will say that I didn't realize that this was romantic at first. Like I thought there would just be like a side romantic thing, but some of the writing is smutty. And the first time it happened, it was so completely out of nowhere. I was like, oh, oh, okay. And one of the romances I did not see coming, and it's so funny because this character was sort of described as this sort of like lecherous villain. And so I was picturing Randall from Monsters Inc. and then she ends up hooking up with him and like a romance ensues. Every single time she talked about like kissing him or something, I was picturing her kissing and making out with Randall. It was hilarious. I was really fascinated by the mythological aspects of this. I'm such a whore for a mythology story. There was a lot of religious vibes in here, but somehow because they were made up religions, it felt more fun. I don't know what that means, and I'm sorry if that's offensive. I ended up giving this a 3.5, but I loved the vibes. I think something that didn't work for me was the mystery part of it. Like, she's trying to figure out who did this, and really it's like, why does it matter who did it? Aren't you supposed to just figure out how to fix it? It just didn't make any sense to me, and she was so suspicious of everyone. It was kind of like a red herring situation. And I feel like ultimately the who and why didn't even really end up mattering that much, at least from what I can remember. Eventually it started just feeling like the plot was there to help further along different relationships, whether those be romantic or friendship or familial. And so it felt kind of like a weak mystery plot. I will say that something happened, I think it was maybe halfway through, maybe a little more or less, that completely shifted the story. And it was right when I was starting to get bored and I was not expecting it. And I thought it was really cool that the author kind of went there because it was a total shift in the plot. I don't even think it was talked about in the summary, so I'm not even going to like hint at what happens, but yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a debut book, so I can't wait to see what else Amy Avery works up because I thought the magic system and like the concept behind the mythology and some of the other like made up religions, I thought it was pretty cool. Oh my god. Then I read Beautyland, which yes, I have 3 copies technically. I have the ebook, I have the ARC, which is how I read it, and I have so many fucking underlines in this book, and the paperback. This is not a paperback, the hardback. And I'm so glad because this is possibly my favorite book of the year. I'm so obsessed with this book. It made me cry so hard. In my vlog, I was crying like a baby at the end, but I had to cut so much out because I was sobbing and it was like actually concerning. So be thankful you didn't have to witness that. This is a story about a young girl. Oh my god, I forgot her name. Hold on. Adina. She is born in September 1977 in, oh god, where are they? Like, I think Chicago? Why do I know nothing about my favorite book of the year? I don't know. She is born on the same day that the Voyager takes off and goes to space. And the Voyager, I had no idea what any of this was. It was something that they, in real life, flew off to space, and it had a bunch of stuff all about humans that was supposed to explain to extraterrestrials what humans were and how we were. There was like a record with songs on it, like Johnny Be Good. There were photographs of women grocery shopping and ants on leaves. There's like a whole description and there's little tidbits all in here. But the thing is that Adina was born at the same second because she is sort of the same thing as the Voyager. She was birthed into the human world to gather more information of the humans because she is an alien. When she's 4 years old, she is activated and she starts communicating with her extraterrestrial others through a fax machine. She sends them messages and she gets responses, and she just tells them interesting facts, stuff she's learning, things she's observing in the world, and it's very funny and witty. We get a lot of her growing up with her mother and just their relationship so interesting because it feels very real. There's like lots of depth to it. It's not perfect, but it's not horrible. It's just like, it feels so real. So we get an account of her being 4 to when she's a grown-ass lady, and there are each parts to this. I think it's like named after the stars, how they develop. So there's like stellar nubella, massive star. I actually don't know that. That's for sure. I'm not a science girly. Red supergiant. Maybe these are just types of stars. I should probably look that up. Black hole. Ugh. We see Adina make a best friend named Tony. She gets a dog. Like, it's just her living her life and then her processing it and sharing it with her fax machine people. She also, every night when she sleeps, she wakes up into this classroom, like in her dreams, and there's like a shimmering person, and that I guess is like the aliens, and they teach her lessons and they help her learn more in the human world. And it's so interesting how this is written because the whole time you're like, but is she an alien? Is this just in her head? And you know what? It really doesn't matter because it's just so fucking beautiful. It's very, oh my god, this gets so depressing because life is kind of depressing and beautiful. And that's the thing that perfectly encapsulates what this book is. It's how great and beautiful life is, but also how fleeting and sad it can be, and the grief that you can go through and the joys you can go through. Ugh. I just loved Adina, and I thought it was so well written. First of all, it was witty. It was just the perfect writing style for me. Think Our Wives Under the Sea, think Mother Thing, think Luster, but like with an alien main character. I could go on forever, but I do have a whole video on this, so check it out if you're interested. It's spoiler free, but also read this book. Actually, I feel like not everyone's gonna like it. So if you like Luster, if you like Our Wives Under the Sea, if you like Mother Thing, I mean, there's no horror in this, so Mother Thing's a weird thing for me to spit out. The only reason it's like Mother Thing is the writing style. I should probably make that clear because this is not like Mother Thing. Then I read Memorial by Brian Washington. This was a book I had originally on my January 2022 TBR, so it's been a while. This is a book about a couple, and one of them is in Japan because his father's dying, and the other one is back at home. But the dude who's in Japan, his mother comes and stays with the dude who's at home, and they don't know each other, and they're both so closed off. So it's just the story in both of their point of views, what they're getting up to, but also thinking back onto how they met, their relationship, how they feel about each other. It was just like slice of life. Absolutely love that. It was such a great audiobook to listen to while I was painting my little picture. This talked about relationships so well because our main characters aren't really in love anymore, but they care so deeply about each other, and I thought that was the most interesting part of it. But they also reflect about their relationships with their parents, who are very prevalent in this. Is that the right word? About the good and the bad, and how different relationships can change over time. Very cool, like big thinking concepts about like real world shit that, I don't know, those are the kind of concepts that are like, because everyone is dealing with that kind of shit. I'm thinking a 4. It's feeling more like a 3.75 just because it didn't really hit me that hard because I don't have parents. Not the book's fault though. I had a very chill and cozy time reading this. Also, kind of funny moments, LOL moments. Then I read Nightshift by Kiera Ladner. If you're searching for this on Goodreads, this is one word. I always end up searching for it and I can never find it because Nightshift is one word. Anyway, this was a book from a very old TBR as well. And this kind of had a similar vibe to Memorial. I listened to the audiobook that night and the next day, and even though it's very different plot-wise what's going on, it was just a very kind of slice of life feeling. This one felt a little more suspenseful, but like nothing suspenseful actually happened. Our main character is obsessed with her coworker, like obsessed. She takes their baby pictures that are like on their break room wall and she like swaps their pictures. She goes trifling through her desk. She finds a necklace that has like the girl's name on it, and when the girl's not there, she like puts it on and wears it. And then when that girl, whose name is Sabine, ends up switching to night shifts, our main character, whose name is Maggie, ends up switching over too because she is just completely obsessed. She starts thinking that she's in love with her, so there's a lot of explorations about sexuality in here, but mainly it's just our main character, middle-aged, looking back at this time in her life and her obsession with this woman. You see Maggie fuck her life up a little bit. You see her struggling and going to lengths to feed this obsession. It sounds more thrilling than it actually is, so go in this hoping for a slice of life, because that's what it was. It was a tiny bit stressful, but like because it was so removed and we were being told about it, and because it did have that slice of life feeling, it wasn't like overwhelmingly stressful. It was just like, oh god, what is this girl about to do? Like, there's actually a really sad, possibly triggering things that happen in here, so, you know, look up content warnings if that's something that you're into. But yeah, I thought this was great. I also think this is a debut book, so. I just love finding debut novels that I enjoy because I get so excited for whatever's to come in the future. Also, I love an obsessive girl friendship. Just love it. Oh my god, Maeve Fly. This was 5 stars. I had a feeling I would like this just based on some of the reviews that I've seen. I've seen both very low and very high reviews. I've also seen mid reviews. But based on the people who gave this higher ratings, I was like, I'm thinking I'm gonna love it. And I did. And you know what I wasn't expecting? This is sort of a love story. It's a hockey romance, people. No, I'm just kidding, but also like, am I? Our main character, she's quite a character. Our main character lives in, I guess it's not LA, it's like Hollywood. She lives in California, and there's a lot of California discussion in here. It's very like, oh, I love this city kind of feeling, which I'm pretty sure American Psycho, which is like a big influence for this, that literally says it in the flap, and they talk about American Psycho at the end there. I think American Psycho takes place in New York City, and it probably has like a similar, I love this city kind of vibe. Our main character works works as a Disney princess. She's Elsa, okay? They never say Elsa, and I don't know why, because they talk about Cinderella and Snow White. Maybe it's because those are like older princesses, so they don't have to pay royalties for using their names, but this was like blatantly Elsa. At one point, she says, "Let it go," and I lost it. Anyway, our main character is sort of running under the radar. She has a very close friendship with this girl who's also a princess. She plays Anna. Is it Anna? I don't know. I haven't seen that movie in a while. She ends up meeting Anna's, the girl's not actually named Anna, just her best friend's brother, and she gets closer to him. It's about that relationship. She also talks a lot about her grandmother, who she ended up living with when she turned 18 and got her introduced into this whole Hollywood life and town because she used to be a big movie star. I'm trying to figure out what to say because I don't want to spoil anything, but it does say in the flap that Maeve ends up having a new persona with a knife. So like things get bloody, things get very gory at the end. Things went crazy on a level of like Black Swan, where all of a sudden this girl snaps and shit goes wild. I'm doing such a shit job explaining what this book is about, but we are going to be doing a live show for the Big Bad Booty Bitches book club. It is on Aaliyah, the Library Dwellers channel. I will put that down below. It's going to be the day after I post this at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm pretty sure. Everyone else is probably going to do a much better job explaining about this book, and I cannot wait to talk about it with them because this was a juicy, juicy read. And again, weirdly, a good romance book. It's pretty much a dark romance. It's very, well, I don't want to say that, spoilery, but I felt sad at the end. Like I actually felt something, even though this was sort of a satirical character and satirical situations, like I was like close to tears, and I don't know. Then I read Interesting Facts About Space by Emily Austen. This is the author of Everyone in This Room Will Someday Be Dead, which I really enjoyed reading. This one I'm giving a 3 stars, and I feel really bad about not liking it more. It's about a main character who's suffering from a phobia of bald men. Not kidding. And she's also never really been in a long-term relationship. She also suffers from paranoia, and it's just all of these things together. It's very slice of life, slow pace, which is what I love about Emily Austen. I also love her humor, and I laughed a lot while reading at least the beginning of this. It got really depressing though, but not in a way I enjoyed. It felt kind of heavy-handed is what I said in my vlog, and I don't think there's a better way to describe how I feel about it. Like, I don't know, it felt also like there was like a mystery thriller type of leaning towards the 3rd act, and I didn't enjoy that because it didn't, I don't know. I still can't explain why I didn't love it, but it just, I didn't click with it, and I was actually annoyed with the story, or at least don't know. It sucks because the main character was going through a lot and I really felt for her, but I also didn't love that she would have revelations and then she would tell like her mom about it, and then she would tell her friend about it, and it was just very repetitive in that way. But also there were some really contrived feeling scenes. I don't know. I feel weird about it. I want to stop talking about it. And finally, I read House of Flame and Shadow. I'm still waiting for my pre-order. Oh my god, my battery is gonna die. Okay, let's try that again. I finished House of Flame and Shadow. I got the ebook. I was vlogging. I was doing like an entire plot summary breakdown, and I filmed so much that I got to halfway through, it wouldn't fit on my computer. So I had to scrap the whole video, which is so sad, but I ended up giving this a 3.5, which isn't horrible. Like, I very much enjoyed this book, but it was long. It was long, and I knew it was long. It's like 800 something pages. My history with this series is that I absolutely love book 1. It's like 4.5, 5-star after reread. I think I've read it 3 or 4 times now. House of Sky and Breath was not my favorite. Obviously the ending was great. I do love the characters, but I don't like how they jumped around. This one was very Bryce-centric. She was pretty much like the main character. This one, it was like a whole slew of characters. We did have more of like jumping from character to character in House of Flame and Shadow, but I was a little bit more prepared, and I also felt closer to the character, so I didn't mind it. My issue is that there are times when the plot line for one point of view or one character is so incredibly boring compared to what else is happening in the book that it's so frustrating. It's like, why do we care? It's oftentimes when the characters are telling each other things that we already know too, so it just feels redundant and unnecessary. And it also frustrates me because it's like, come on, can we get to the point? So let me give you an example. I think this is in the first half of the book. There's a character that has to do a fight, and it takes like a whole either 1/3 or 1/2 of the book for them to find out they're gonna go to a fight to actually having the fight, which would be one thing if we just get that one scene of them finding out and then that one scene of the fight, but it breaks it up into like 9 or 10 chapters of them finding out they're getting to the fight, telling their friends that they're gonna go into a fight, their friends discussing the fight even more, a plot twist happening about who's going to fight, the fight beginning, the fight ending, and then the aftermath of the fight. It's like, bro, what? That shit pissed me off, and that happened a couple times in this book for other plot lines too. It seems to be like when one character, one point of view is really having interesting things, the other ones really seem to just drag and be boring. But I have to say, part one, even with this stupid other fight plot line, part one was phenomenal, like 5 stars. Mostly because of the predicament that our main character, well, I say main character, but Bryce was in. But also like the setting was really cool. The visuals sound amazing. I want to see art because they were like weird demon creatures. There were huge caverns. It felt really cool in an atmosphere sort of way, but also the visual descriptions were very fascinating in a fantasy sort of way. Part two, the beginning of part two was also really thrilling because, hold on. I don't want to spoil it, but there's sort of like a heist style situation going on, and that was really fun to read. Sarah J Maas does really high energy action scenes very well, which is weird because I usually don't care about those kind of things, but she does an excellent job writing them and making me want to like read really quickly. Also, I don't know what my neighbor's doing with their fucking horn. It's been happening every night for the past 3 days, so. But then for the last half of the book, besides the amazing high stakes ending, which is in all of her books, again, she does such a great job of that. The whole last half of the book was just them pretty much getting all the information together and preparing for like a big final scene. I was so bored, I have to say. And yes, I do love the characters, so there were some things I was like, you know what, I don't care that we're wasting all this time, but the majority of it, it's like, what are we doing? I will say my favorite character of this book is Lydia. What a fucking legend. She carried everyone on her back, sometimes literally. This girl, love her. I do feel like Sarah J Maas had a plan for some of these characters at the end of the second book, and she completely like scrapped it. Like Sigrid, I feel like she had a way different plan for her than what happened in this book, because like what was the point of her? There are a couple things like that where like there was a setup for something or great potential for a specific character based on something that they said in another book that was totally untapped in this one. I feel like I remember reading that Sarah J Maas wrote this book and then gave it to her agent and then rewrote the whole thing again. I'd be so curious to see what happened in that other book. Not that I think it would be better, but I'm just so curious as to what she changed, because I have a feeling quite a lot changed. I do think it was a great ending. I'm kind of sad that it is ending, even though I've given the last 2 books like 3.5 stars. I really do like the magic system. I love the urban fantasy feel. I do love Bryce. Even though she is infuriating, the more characters are in the room with her. When it's just her, or with just her and a couple of people, she's great and I love her. But when she's with the whole group, she turns into a cartoon character who just like comes in the room and winks and says some like sassy line. It's just so funny. I feel weird about ending and not seeing these characters again, although with Sarah J Maas, who the fuck knows? So yeah, it was definitely well worth the read. Just part 1 was definitely worth it, if you're wondering. I do feel like there was a lot of potential for even more stuff to happen that I'm kind of sad we didn't delve into, or I don't know, I've just got some ideas, man. Sarah, call me. JK. I do not know anything I'm talking about, so I just got really nervous. Why did I say that? I'm very excited for what else Sarah J Maas writes. I know there's going to be more ACOTAR books. I haven't finished Throne of Glass. I think I'm on the 5th book, maybe the 4th, I can't remember. Oh my god. Okay, I'll be right back again, I'm sorry. Okay, let's hope that's done. I did see news that Bloomsbury, I think that's her publisher, they signed on for 7 more of her books. Some a part of the series, I guess ACOTAR series, but I think she's gonna also be starting new series in the next few years. I'm so excited for that. I've never read Sarah J Maas like when she published a fresh start. I came to Crescent City like a year after, so it'd be so fun to experience that with you all. Okay, before anything else happens in this video, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you so much for watching. If you read any of these books, whether you agree with me or not, definitely let me know your opinion down below. Let me know your favorite read of the month, how your reading went. Definitely come along and check out the live show for Maeve Fly. Information down below, and I will see you soon. Goodbye.